this hallway, this hallway between these two, the one door closing, the other one open. And so we've been through, this is the 5th week. So the first week we talked about the fact that the first thing we got to do is acknowledge, you know, it's hell and it's hot. You know, this is where I am right now. We got to acknowledge that. It's not going to just go away. The second week we talked about we have to surrender. And guess what? We do not surrender to the hell. We surrender the hell to our divine nature, to God, to the all presence, all power, all omniscience of the one power presence. Then in week 3, we talked about, Peg was here, and she talked about the need for forgiveness, that F word that we sometimes don't like, you know? But, you know, it's part of what has to happen. We need to forgive. We need to forgive ourselves for whatever part we played in winding up in that hallway, choices we made, but also what other people may have helped place us in the hallway. And then last week we talked about prayer and how prayer is the one thing that can really help carry us through the hallway. Prayers from other people, our own prayers, time of conscious connection with our spirit, with the spirit that we are. And I heard a great saying, so I'll ask you this question. Is prayer your steering wheel or your spare tire? Isn't that great? Is it your steering wheel or your spare tire? So hopefully in here it's our steering wheel. That's right. Okay. And so today we're going to talk about the last thing, which is we've been through the hallway. We've hopefully done our work in the hallway because it's there for us. It's not against us. It's for us. And so now it's time to leave the hallway. Is that good news? Yeah. You ready to leave the hallway? See? That's not at all. That's not at all. Sometimes we get comfortable in the hallway, and we don't want to face the unknown. And so maybe we set up camp, or maybe we build a condo in the hallway because we're not quite ready. And the human condition is we're not quite ready because we perhaps doubt. Maybe there's doubt and uncertainty in us that we're not quite sure what's on the other side of that door. You know, is that light or is it another train coming, right? So we have that doubt. And so we wind up staying in the hallway and just living our life by default. Or we step into the spiritual solution to the human condition and we trust. Boy, that's a big word, isn't it? Trust. We're going to trust the light. We're going to trust that when we touch the door, it will open and that the light will be a blessing. Will be so much better than where we've been, right? So, what's in it for you? What's in it for you to choose to live your life by design instead of by default? Anybody got any ideas?
Freedom.
Freedom. Boy, I have a 7 on the Enneagram. That's my favorite value. Freedom. Yeah. Anything else?
Adventure.
Pardon?
Adventure.
Adventure! Yes, that's a positive attitude. That's great. So, and what's really great is we have a choice. And nobody can make that choice for us. We have the freedom to choose an adventure. We have the freedom to choose what we want, or to just live by default. And when I did the series on the empowerment dynamic, the power of TED, the empowerment dynamic, not TED Talks, you know, we talked about going from victim to creator. Well, guess what? Debenport in this book talks about going from, she doesn't quite use the same words, but basically we have an opportunity to create. That would make us a creator. or we have an opportunity to be a victim. It's up to us. Nobody can make that choice for us. So, in order to get to the design part, which is really the vision for what's on the other side of that door, I want to just talk a few minutes about desire. Now, the word desire is, I think from the Latin, means of the Father. And so it's good. It's good to have desire. And in the hallway, we are either pushed by pain or pulled by a vision. And so that vision is what we desire. What do we want? What is it that's calling our heart to open that door? The way we reframe it in Unity is we call pain divine discontent. Isn't that better than pain? I like that. Divine discontent. It's being called higher. It's that point of dissatisfaction where it doesn't have to be excruciating pain. It could be anywhere on the spectrum. But enough discontent in our life, enough dissatisfaction with the way things are that we want something better. We're being called higher. And that's, no matter how much our ego may resist, our divine nature is calling us higher. In fact, Emily Cady, who wrote the foundational book for Unity called Lessons in Truth, back in the 1800s, said, desire is in the heart is always God tapping at the door of your consciousness. Desire is the heart, desire in the heart is always, not sometimes, not once in a while, but always God tapping at the door of your consciousness. And she goes on to say that we would not desire a thing if it were not available to us. So if you have the desire, it is available to you. There's something in you that is way beyond the ego, that knows that it's possible. So that literally, I see this threshold on that door right before the light as being possibility junction. The possibility, the intersection of where we are right this minute and where we could be. So that to me is the threshold. And Ellen points out in the book that our deepest desire, what do you think our deepest desire is for?
God.
Yay, Keg! That's right, I'm a ministerial student! Yes, a desire for conscious connection with the one, that one presence, that one power. That's our greatest desire. And what we truly are longing for is not whatever the thing might be that we think we're longing for, or the goal, or the dream, or the accomplishment. It's the feeling behind it, right? We want something because it makes us feel happy and joyful and wonderful. So it's the feelings that we're really desiring. And so then we have ideas of what will give us that feeling. And I was thinking about my life, because I always have to do that when I'm preparing these messages. And I realized that it was pain that pushed me to change my life and to change my relationship where I worked, when I worked up at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And there was a personality conflict between me and these 4 managers. Not me. Okay? And personality conflict, meaning I had one and they didn't. So I got into enough pain that the staff psychologist had to get involved. And she said, you are well respected by management here at the lab. summer management. And she said, just name it, I'll make it happen. You could go anywhere, to any other department in the lab. Just tell me and I'll arrange it. And I was a Unity student. I wasn't a minister yet, but I said, that's a cop-out. And if I do that, I'm just going to face the same situation wherever I go. And so I've got to rise above this situation. And so she said, what would you do if you could do anything you wanted to do? I said, I think I'd like to go back to school. And she said, well, what would you study? And I said, religion. So that's before I knew about spirituality. Okay. And I said, I think I'd study religion, all the world's religions. I just think that would be fascinating. And she said, well, why don't you do that? And I said, oh, well, I can't afford it, Just recently got divorced, I don't have any money. And she said, well, what about going part-time? So I decided to go part-time in Los Alamos National Laboratory and put me through my master's degree in counseling. Okay? But I still was going to be there 20 hours a week, and I figured I could handle it 20 hours a week. Because 40 hours I wasn't making it, okay, with these managers. But I said, I'm the one that's got to change. So I've got to figure out what I'm doing that's really irritating them. That wasn't the word I used at the time, but what I said that's really upsetting them about me, and I've got to quit doing it. And so I decided that it was pretty much because I had an opinion about everything, and I thought was the best way, and so I was always offering ways to do things better. So I decided I was just going to stop doing it. Unless it was illegal, immoral, or unsafe, I was going to keep my mouth shut. Within 2 weeks, the first of these 4 managers said, wow, my husband got a job in San Diego, and we're moving. Wow, that's one. Okay? A couple of weeks later, the group leader said she was so inspired that I was going back to college that she was going to take a whole year full-time, leave without pay, and go back to college. That's 2. And then the third one applied for the second one's job and didn't get it, so she left our group. I mean, it was just like, they were falling like flies. And I was just amazed because I was just totally non-resistant. And I only had to deal with that last one. And it was the explosion with him that had really brought everything to a head. But then we decided, the medical department decided to create a job for me in the medical department where I would be doing my employee relations work that I had, the same work I was doing in employee relations. So I left the group. So that's the miracle of when I decide to change, when you decide to change. The miracles of when we get non-resistant and stop doing what it is that's causing us to be in the hallway in the first place. So pain pushed me to that. But then it pulled me to getting my master's degree in counseling. Okay? And it pushed me, well, it pushed me to go part-time so that I could manifest that vision that was really behind it all, calling me to go back to school and get my master's in counseling. Pain pushed me to take Unity classes for credit back at Unity of Fairfax in the early 80s. And that's another story for another day, but basically I crawled into my second Unity church and I was in a lot of pain. But it was vision that pulled me to be a licensed Unity teacher, and it was vision that pulled me to be an ordained minister. I was sitting in church one Sunday over on Maclovia Street. We were the church on wheels back then. And all of a sudden, I saw the minister was doing everything I wanted to do, because I had done a workshop where I had identified that the 3 things I enjoyed the most were public speaking, telling jokes, and stories, and they were not necessarily the kind I tell today. And I worked in a bar, I was a singing cocktail waitress, and bartender. And then the third thing was counseling. I had done some career counseling. And I realized he was doing everything I wanted to do. So that was my burning wish, that was my call to ministry. So it was like this vision that pulled me to ministry. So the desire is being that dissatisfaction, that discontent, wanting something better than what we have. So then that takes us to visioning. And there's a difference between visualization and visioning. Now, New Thought is based on new thoughts. Gee, how brilliant is that? People think it's New Age. No, it's about thinking differently. It's about having new thoughts instead of being limited by those old thoughts. And you've heard me say it a million times, I'm responsible for what? My second thought and my first action. Because that first thought I have absolutely no control over. It just happens. You know, that bumper sticker we're going to make someday. Thought happens, okay? But we can change that first thought to a new thought. So visualization sometimes is used more than visioning in the New Thought movement. And visualization works, and I'm not here to put down visualization. It works. But basically it's a mental science technique whereby I tell the universe what I want. Okay? And then I plan my work and poof, it happens, you know. Visualization works. I still use it for parking spaces. Okay, I've never advanced beyond visualization, and I always say, thank you, Jesus, for the perfect parking space. And my friend says, you asked Jesus for parking spaces? And I said, from A Course in Miracles, what? There's no degree of difficulty in miracles. You know, we can ask for anything we want. I always get them, and what gets them for me is I not only say, thank you, Jesus, for the perfect parking space, I feel the excitement. I feel the excitement of saying, there it is. Gotta have that. Without the feeling, it's not gonna happen. So visualization works, and it's fine. But what's, to me, a higher level of spirituality is visioning. And that, to me, is mysticism. Because we don't say what it is we want. We really have to trust, to step into that spiritual solution of trust. So Michael Beckwith, how many of you heard of Michael Beckwith? Most of you in the room. Phenomenal New Thought power. He's not just a person, he's a power. And he actually outlined the visioning process. In fact, yesterday I was honored to facilitate a board retreat for the Board of Trustees at Unity Spiritual Center, Albuquerque, and I taught them visioning and led them through a visioning process. So in visioning, we're catching a divine vision, not an ego vision, for what Spirit is calling us to do. What is that divine discontent? What's pulling us that maybe we've been afraid to acknowledge? And the thing about visioning is that we have to get out of our head in order to vision. If we're in our head, it's visualization. We have to, and I used heart math. I taught them heart math in order to get into their heart, in order to catch God's vision. For, in that case, it was for how does God show up as Unity Spiritual Center, Albuquerque? And we present here, you know. And so we get into the heart, and then we catch that vision. And sometimes that vision is way beyond what we think we can do. Okay, that's how we know it's not visualization. Because visioning will call us way beyond, like when I called the vision of quitting my job in Los Alamos, you know, it was like, my ego argued until the cows came home. And it didn't matter. It was compelling. It was a vision that was calling me from inside. And I think the difference between visualization and visioning is captured by Napoleon Hill in his 1937 book, Think and Grow Rich. He identifies two kinds of imagination. The first one I equate to visualization. He called it synthetic imagination, rearranging what is already familiar, and it makes your life a little better. But then he says there's something called creative imagination, and it's open at the top for new input, leaving room for divine inspiration and the unknown. And it offers results beyond your wildest dreams. Which one would you rather have? Okay? Creative imagination. And it makes me think of when I bought my home. I've been in it for 14 and a half years now. And I was actually doing a prosperity course, and we're supposed to affirm 200 times a day, I am prosperous, with feeling. And all of a sudden I was saying, I'm prosperous, 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 I am prosperous. That was my rhythm. And all of a sudden at the end I added, and I enjoy my prosperity. Wow, what a novel idea. And I thought, what would I do if I really was willing to not just keep it safe for the church to enjoy after I die, but what if I actually enjoyed my prosperity? And it came to me, this vision just came to me. I'd buy a house. And so I found a house within a week or so, or to build in a new development. And I had written down everything I wanted. This is what you do when you visualize. And I wrote down everything I wanted. And I started with a Hamas view, Sangre de Cristo view, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, you know, whatever. And I got through my list and I thought, on my budget, so I scratched off the Hamas view. I got everything on that list except a Hamas view. And the only thing blocking my view was about 20 feet of dirt on the other, behind my house. There is now a house on top of it that has a 360-degree view. But, you know, that's what we limit ourselves. We don't leave room for spirit. And Bruce Wilkerson, in the book The Prayer of Jabez, his mentor said to him, you have to dare to dream so grand that failure is guaranteed unless God steps in. Okay? But I didn't have the courage to dream that big, you know? But courage, you know, the courage to say, okay, I have no idea how this is going to happen. But the vision is there. I wouldn't have written it down if it wasn't possible. But, you know, I just succumbed to my ego, and I let that limitation keep me from having my Hamas view. So, and then I do have to tell you this part, because this was a very mystical dream I had. While the house was being built, I had a dream, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, that the foundation was poured of my house, and I would go over and pick up an invisible block, and I would lay it on the foundation, and it would become solid. I don't even try to explain that. It was powerful. So we have to dare to dream so grand that failure is guaranteed unless God steps in. We have to leave room for God in our vision. You know, because if it's a true vision, it's beyond what we are humanly capable of doing. But we are what? We are humanly limited. We're humanly limited, but spiritually unlimited. And so we have to trust beyond what we think we can do. You know, this congregation, you know, we've never been over 100, you know, average attendance. But even though we got down to 60 a few years ago, we own this building. We did it because we caught the vision for it. And we did what it took. We followed our guidance, and we brought it home. Right, Debbie? Debbie showed up. I gave you great credit for the camping. You missed it. You missed the slides, but Debbie, Debbie was our professional fundraiser, volunteer professional fundraiser, I might add, that helped us bring it home. So, I invite you this week ahead to just think about what pain has pushed you to do and what vision maybe has pulled you to do. And so how do we put feet on today's message? How do we allow today's message to not just inform us, but transform us? And I was glad that Ellen's first idea was right in alignment with what we always believe here in Unity Santa Fe, and that is prayer and meditation. So she calls it, create the conditions in consciousness. Create the conditions in consciousness. If you heard me talk on May 19th about the fact that we were celebrating our 20th anniversary in this building, we built this place in consciousness first. We caught the vision, and then we picked up those invisible blocks, and they became solid. So we have to build it in consciousness first. We have to catch that vision. And we do that by aligning ourselves with the divine through prayer, through meditation, spiritual reading, singing, right, Bill, right, Catherine? Singing, getting that vibration out there. Being in nature, going camping, okay? All those things align us with the divine. And appreciating whatever shows up. And sometimes that's not easy. The next thing we have to do is know how we want to feel. Because that's what we've got to, it's that feeling that when Napoleon Hill was talking way back in 1937, people act like the law of attraction is something new. But back in 1937, he was talking about it. And feeling is critical. It's not just about thoughts. It's about feeling how you want to feel. And you can either be specific and say, how do you want to feel today? How do you want to feel right this moment? What actions might bring about that feeling? Or you can step up to the mystical level and just set the intention for feeling what you want. You know? And she gives a couple of affirmations. I intend to feel happy, creative, productive, and inspired. Or, I am peaceful, loving, and self-assured. You know, no specifics to any of that, right? But you're getting into that feeling tone that is like a tuning fork, right, Brian? And it vibrates, and it just makes other things ring, and what does it do? Everything else rings around. The other tuning forks get in line with it, right?
They should.
They should. And we should. Okay? Okay, then the third thing is to catch the vision. And write it down. So yesterday at the board retreat, I had them write down the vision they caught. And then there's other things you write down as well in the visioning process. And that gives us clarity, so that we know when the vision's been accomplished. Otherwise, we forget what we asked for, right? Or what the vision said for us to do. So create the conditions in consciousness. We align ourselves with how we want to feel, and then we catch the vision and write it down. So, and then there is one more step. Pay attention to what shows up. The people that show up, the events, the ideas, the book that falls off the shelf as you're walking down the aisle of the bookstore or whatever. And so I celebrate that each and every one of us, as a result of today's message, taps into that wisdom that is part of who we are, part of our divine birthright, and choose to live a life of design rather than living by default. And let's begin doing that right now in a sacred time of shared prayer. So I invite us to bring your attention to the third eye. It's between, a little bit above the eyebrows, above the nose. And just breathe as if you were breathing in and out through the third eye. Just let the breath be at its own rhythm and pace. Knowing that as we breathe in and out, as if through the third eye, we are activating our spiritual power of imagination to design the life we desire. So I invite you to use that imagination to see yourself at the threshold of the hallway and the open door to the light beyond it. You are at Possibility Junction. Your divine essence, God in you, your God self, is calling forth opportunities, events, and people to match your deepest desires. Ask yourself what you really want, what you truly want. And even more important, ask yourself what you want to feel. And allow your feelings to pull the vision and the movements toward you. Celebrate the desires that you have, the feelings that they generate. These feelings are the divine in you. They are your God self, reminding you what is possible for your life. Desire attracts opportunities. Feeling the feelings behind your desires puts you in the flow of grace, where all things are possible. And so right now, feel the feelings behind your desire and put yourself in the flow of grace, in the silence. And as we gently bring our attention back to this time and place, allow gratitude to fill your heart and mind as you silently say, thank you, divine nature that I am, for the wisdom to choose to design my life instead of living life by default. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That it is so, and so it is.